Lemoore City Council Chambers, 429 C Street, August 3rd, 2021. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. This is the 5:30 PM study session, SS-1, Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District, LLMD, and Public Facilities Maintenance District, PFMDs. Reporting presentation from A Champion. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a question on Mr. Reed?
Let's try not to skip over the public comment. I have a question as to the golf course, since we've had a lot of activity. They've had a month into it. Do we have any ideas of the employees that have been or may be retained by the new employers?
Sure.
Unless things have changed, I think everybody retained but two people that chose not to interview.
Okay,
Everybody that asked to retain their job kept their job.
good. Also, there was a disturbing article in the Lemoore Advance a couple of days ago. I'm sure you've all heard about it. And I know that 4 of you had no votes on that when it came through here. But it's something that we have to be very careful of, that we maybe report any untoward activities that may be presented to you in your facilities as representing the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Ms. Champion. On with the show.
So good evening, Mayor and council members. So tonight's presentation will hopefully provide a better understanding of the Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District and the Public Facilities Maintenance District, specifically on the report and the assessments filed, detailing what's contained in the report and how the assessments are calculated. So first off, let's discuss the purpose of the LLMD and PFMD. The LMD and PFMD districts were created to fund the shared improvements / benefits through an annual assessment collected with the parcel's property taxes. The LMDs were created first and were made to collect for shared landscape, parkways, streetscapes, wildlands, admin fees for administering this report. And the only exception to that is Zone 8B, which collects for streetlights and a small pocket park. The issue we have today with the LLMD district zones is that many of the zones did not have an annual inflator built into them, into the maximum assessments when they were created. And as a direct result, many of the zones are underfunded. The cost of the service has just exceeded what we are allowed to collect. So the city has made several attempts to increase the assessments for these zones, but none of them have come close to passing. Learning from our previous mistakes with the LMDs, the city later started creating public facility maintenance districts known as PFMDs. The difference being that the PFMD zones also collect for streets and roads, pocket parks, pathways, block walls, and they do have an annual inflator built into the maximum assessment each year. What this means is that each year, the maximum assessment that the city can collect increases with the average cost of inflation. I'd like to note that just because the city can collect more, that's not always the case. We'll go into how the assessments are calculated in just a little bit. So this is a map showing all of the LLMD zones. It's comprised of 11 different zones. And then it also has a table that shows how many parcels are included in each zone. So zones 1 and 12 are the largest in the city with well over 500 parcels. It's important to remember though that with more parcels comes more funding, but also comes significantly more area to maintain. So this is a map showing the PFMD zones, which is comprised of 10 different zones. Most of these zones are much smaller, but do include significantly more benefits that need to be funded, such as the roads and the parks. So in order to collect assessments, the city must follow specific processes to file the engineer's report. First, City Council must adopt a resolution with the intent to file the assessments, which was presented previously on July 6th. And then council must hold a public hearing for the assessments, which will be occurring later this evening during regular session. Once the public hearing is completed, City Council will be asked to adopt a resolution, adopting the reports and allowing staff or the consultant to file the assessments with the county. So different components of the reports are descriptions of each zone, which includes the subdivision tracts included in the number of parcels, descriptions of the shared benefits, which is the specific quantities of like landscaping, square footage of landscaping and pavement surface, the general benefit analysis for each zone, which is how much the general fund contributes to each zone. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail here in a second. The methodology for assessment, so how the engineer decides how to split the assessments among the parcels. The district budgets, which details the expenditures versus the revenue. The maps, which are visual representations of the benefits, and also the assessment roles, which break down each individual parcel by APN and the exact assessment. So for the sake of time constraints, we won't be going into the specifics of the report for each individual zone, but I did want to present an example of the sections provided. So this slide shows you what you would find for the zone and benefits description in the LLMD report. The detail provided here is what's to be maintained by the assessment. So it lists all the square footage of all the benefits. Likewise, here is an example of the zone description and benefit for PFMD Zone 8. You'll notice the difference in that this also includes the number of streetlights and the square footage of pavement surface for the PFMDs. Here is an example of the map detail for LLMD Zone 10. The green sections are parkways and the red sections are the streetscape. The parkways are what exist from the sidewalk to the curb, and the streetscapes are what exists typically from the property line or the block wall to the sidewalk. Here's an example of a PFMD map. Again, you'll notice the inclusion of the pocket park indicated in the orange square and the streetlights indicated by the red dots. And the report does have a map for each zone in the reports. So now we're going to talk about the general benefit analysis. So what you see here are the general benefit values for the LLMD zones. The report goes into much greater detail of how these amounts are calculated, but the brief version is our consultant evaluates each benefit for each zone and generates a methodology on how to determine the value of that benefit provided to the general public that exists outside of the zone. And that amount is what then the general fund contributes to each zone. Here is a table showing the PFMD general benefit fund amounts. The difference here, you'll see there's more components because there's just more benefits that the PFMDs are allotted for. So the next part of the equation for the assessment calculation is the EBU, or equivalent benefit factor, unit factor. The report goes into a lot more detail on how the EBU factor is calculated, but in simplified terms, each parcel in a zone may not share the same weight of beneficial use as another. For example, a single family residential parcel does not carry the same benefit or weight as a commercially developed parcel. So the EBU is the term used for the parcel's classification's weight, more or less. You can see here that down in the PFMDs, a single residential single family is 1 EBU, whereas a non-residential developed is 5 EBU per acre. So now we have all the information needed to calculate the assessment, and there's about 3 formulas that are involved in that. First, you take the total annual expenses, and then you subtract out the general benefit contribution, and you get how much money you need to levy. For example, PFMD Zone 9, they have total operating expenses of $56,820. You subtract out the $1,283 that the general benefit contributes, the general fund contributes, and so you get a balance to collect of $55,537 for the entire zone. So moving on to the next part of the equation, you now take that balance to levy and you divide it by that zone's total EBU, and you get your assessment per EBU. So for example, you take that 55,537, you divide it by 87 because that's how many parcel EBUs that zone has, and you get $638.36 per EBU. The last part of that to find out the assessment per parcel is you take that and you multiply it by the parcel EBU. So for example, a residential unit has a factor of 1, like we just discussed. So the assessment for a residential parcel would be $638.36. Now a commercial development has that EBU factor of 5. So their annual assessment would be $3,191.80. It's to proportionally share the assessment based on how much benefit they get. So here's an example of the budgets. I've highlighted the parts of the equation basically. The first highlight is our total annual expenses for each zone. The second highlight would be that amount less your general fund allocation. And so the last line there is your balance to levy. And then the bottom two lines are your EBUs, total EBUs for each zone, divided by which gets your assessment per parcel. So here's a summary of last year's assessments compared to the proposed assessments for this year. You can see for the LLMDs, the only zones seeing an increase are zones 8A and 8B. They are the only zones that have CPI inflators. And the increase is the annual amount, so it equates to less than $1 each month for these zones. Here are the assessments for the PFMD zones. Zones 1 through 3 are seeing a decrease, and zones 4 through 10 are seeing an increase. Zones 8 and 9 are seeing the largest increase of $120 to $130 for the year, which is about $10 a month. And this is due to the fact that they are newer zones, which haven't built up their reserves as much as the other zones. The reason why zone 10 isn't seeing such a large increase is because they were the most recently developed zone. So the amount needed in reserves is far less because the roads are newer. I apologize that this map is a little bit hard to read, but it's the best I could do with the overlays. So this is the map of the zones overlaid with the map of the voting districts. So zone 1 is the only one that's a little, or district A, excuse me, is the only one that's a little bit hard to read. It's kind of on the left-hand side and it encompasses PFMD 1. And then the green areas are your PFMDs and your yellow areas are your LLMDs. So now on to our last topic. Many of the members of the public want to know how they identify if their property falls within a zone. So if you go to the city website and you select the GSI link right on the top bar, navigation bar, it'll take you to this screen. Then you'll want to select the arrow on the right-hand side until you locate the Lemoore LLMD Pfmd Map. And when you select the map, it'll take you to this interactive map. Here you can either search for your address or you can scroll the map until you find the parcel you're looking for. And when you click on the parcel, it'll pop up this box. The first line is going to tell you the zone. So this one is zone 7. And the second line is going to tell you if it's an LLMD or a PFMD. You can also tell that by looking at the color coding. Yellow is LLMD, green is PFMD. So this particular parcel that I highlighted that's kind of real down at the bottom, he's in LLMD zone 7. So, and then if anybody ever wants to report a complaint about something in their zone, we do have the city's work order system where they can file it through there, and that does get sent to our superintendent that oversees our landscaping for the LMDs and PFMDs. So with that, that completes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Yeah, yes, I've a couple of them. So the consultant uses criteria to determine, and was that criteria spelled out in this presentation? When you talk about assessment, what is your definition of assessment? Is that the home's assessment?
I believe that would be each parcel's assessment. So it's
Yes, but if I have a 3-story, $3,000 home and my neighbor has a 2,100 square foot single-story home, I've got a $11,000 square foot lot, and
Right.
they have a 10,000 square foot. What is that part of this criteria?
yes. So well, not necessarily. The different classifications are defined, but they were defined as such that any single family residential dwelling gets the same portion of an assessment. So it doesn't go based off of how many square foot your home is, how big your lot is, just the fact that it is a single family dwelling, it gets assigned the same proportionate value as every other single family dwelling.
Okay.
And the reports do define the classifications.
So when you say assessment,
It's
most
per-
homeowners view that item on their tax bill as the amount that they're being charged for their taxes.
Yes.
Right, but it's not the same as what the criteria that you're using to calculate that. Okay, that would be helpful in putting some kind of an asterisk or something as when they go to the GIS thing to determine that it's not this, it's a different calculation.
Okay.
I think to help at least some of the questions that I've gotten about that would be helpful. So I can't recall the street, but it's the last street going west off of Silverado. And you make a left off of Silverado and a series of empty lots. On one side, it's apartments. On the other side, it's 6-foot tall weeds. So is that part of that assessment area? And should those weeds be abated? And whose job is that, the owner or us?
We'd have to look at the area because I believe right in here.
The green one, 3.
No, it's below, it's,
Sonoma. Does that sound right?
no, if you're on Silverado,
Yeah.
You're
Going through the
between
bend.
3 and 4. Right there, you're between 3 and 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and it's that curved street that,
Yeah, so it's
3,
zone 3.
zone 3.
all right,
Doesn't,
So more than likely, if it's on either the north or the south side of Silverado, it looks like it would fall within a zone. Now, if it's within one
it's
of
on the
these.
south side of Silverado.
South side, so that would be LLMD Zone 3, which I believe is one of our underfunded LLMDs. So we do have a landscape contractor that would maintain that, but we're limited on how much time they can spend due to the assessments being so low.
Well, I guess that's the part of the issue that those are being assessed, those northern multifamily homes, and they're being assessed the same as the occupied.
Multifamily dwellings do have a different unit, so their EBU is 1 per unit. So if it's a 5-family multifamily, they get charged 5 rates versus 1, 5 assessment values instead of 1.
Yeah, I don't know what they are. I think they're 2, but you know.
So then they
they're
would, if it's a
duplexes.
2-unit, if it's a duplex,
Yeah.
it would get charged basically double of what a single family would get
Okay,
charged.
but across the street from them, where the weeds are taller than their cars, they get assessed as a vacant lot.
Yeah, if there's a
That'd be half.
vacant lot, it would be assessed differently, yes.
Okay.
So for example, LLMD Zone 3, annually, we only collect, let's see, where did that one go? We assess $55.42 per property. And just depending on how many properties are in there, we don't collect a whole lot.
Okay,
This says 289.
Yeah, so but there's a lot of area at the same time, so it's
Exactly,
not very
yeah.
much. Mhm.
well, you know, when you're coming down or going up 41 or down 41, you're looking over there and all you're seeing is weeds and then rooftops. So on the parcels, on the landscape lighting districts, on the parcels that we don't have the inflator on, what are our options? So, for example, could we create another LLMD and have the citizens vote on it? And so that it's one, if they're contiguous, or do they have to be contiguous? I don't-
You would need them to be contiguous in order to combine them into one zone, is that right? You want to take this one?
You could combine zones into one, whether they're contiguous or not, depending on the improvements that they're provided. So if each has similar improvements, then you could arguably you could argue that their benefits are the same, as long as they're the same type of improvement. So if they have perimeter landscaping that's parkway and streetscape only, and there's another zone that has that same type of landscaping, you could, but it's a little more difficult because you've got maybe one development that has 50 homes and 10,000 square feet of landscaping, another one that has 10 homes in that same 50,000 square feet of landscaping. Benefit's not the same. So it's complicated to do non-contiguous areas. But ultimately, you're going to have to go out to ballot, and the property owners are going to have to support whatever assessment you propose.
Whether it's 13 zones or one. big zone,
Exactly.
right, yeah. Okay. Do we know what the benefits, or if there are similar benefits in those zones or similar deficiencies, I guess would be another way of saying it.
For the most part, your zones, because they're situated across the city in different areas, they all have a little bit different landscaping. Their landscaping is also different conditions. Some have turf, some have, shrubs, some have drip irrigation, some have weeds right now. So they're all a little bit different. So it's really hard to combine them and make an argument that their benefits are the same,
But
unless you were to implement general fund money to bring everything up to the same level of landscaping. Then you might be able to make the argument.
or in a new zone, indicate everything coming up to the same level.
Right.
Okay. Just thank you.
Anything's possible. It's just getting the property owners to vote
To
favor.
agree,
of it.
right. And what, is that a simple majority, or is it, what is it?
It is a simple majority based on dollar amount.
Okay. Based on dollar amount?
Yeah. So like when we vote in an election, you get one vote, I get one vote. In an assessment district, if you're paying $300 and I'm paying 200, you get 300 votes, I get 200.
So the commercial people get, the guys that own the duplexes get more votes.
Yes. That's the way the Constitution has it.
So no wonder we got all those weeds over there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but council on those weeds, we can, if it's the vacant lot, that actually as a property owner, I'll follow up with the CSOs. Maybe we can send a letter to have them clean it up.
Yeah. It's. So-
Yeah, likely the vacant lot's not part of the zone, so they're not being assessed at all. I mean, their improvements are not part of what we're maintaining.
Yeah,
So there's always that kind of distinction too.
exactly. Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Can you put up on the screen the overlay of districts to the, real quick,
Yes. Whoops.
Take a picture of it with your phone.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I would like to note the red 9 and the red 10.
9, 10.
Those are PFMDs. There are two most current, newest PFMDs, and our ARC map, our GIS map just doesn't have them indicated with the greens, but we do have the 9 and the 10 in red are PFMDs.
Cool. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and move into closed session. And these items have been set aside for the city council to meet in closed session to discuss matters pursuant to government code section 54956.9 D4. The city attorney will provide an oral report regarding the closed session at the beginning of the next regular city council meeting. 1, conference with labor negotiator, government code section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, Mary Lerner, city attorney, and Michelle Spear, assistant city manager, employee organizations, the General Association of Service Employees, Lemoore Police Officers Association, Lemoore Police Sergeants Unit, Police Professionals Service Bargaining Unit, and underrepresented. 2, conference with legal counsel of existing litigation, government code section 54956.9 D1. Name of case, Fabry versus City of Lemoore, Kings County Superior Court case number 19C-0159. And 3, government code section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiators, property Lemoore Little League, APN 023-120-003 and 023-120-004. agency negotiator, and Nathan Olson, city manager, under negotiation, price and terms. In the event that all the items on the closed session agenda have gone or not been deliberated in the time provided, the city council may continue the closed session at the end of the regular scheduled city council meeting. We are adjourned into closed session.
Otherwise, it's just.
So what do you want
Call
me
the meeting to order at a certain time. No, you can just have call your regular session. Okay. And go over the- You don't need to. You can just- You can, you don't need to say anything.
Feel more important over here.
You got it, girl.
We're going to call the meeting to order, 7:30 regular session. If you can stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for an opportunity to meet again this evening and just thank you for the freedoms found in this country and pray for wisdom as we seek you and the decisions that need to be made just for this community, Lord. We thank you for those who serve in the line of duty in our armed forces, in the line of duty in our first responders, and pray that you would continue to protect them, guard them, and guide them as they are used by you. And again, as we seek you this evening, may your spirit be here among us and just give us wisdom and help us to be the best stewards of this community that we can be. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nope.
Roll call. Thank you.
Good evening. Councilmember Orth,
Here.
Councilmember Gornick,
Here,
Councilmember Cheney, Mayor Pro Tem Matthews,
Here.
and Mayor Lyons. Thank you.
Closed session report.
Nothing to report, Mayor Pro Tem and Council.
Are there any agenda approval additions and or deletions?
None.
So we'll go to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. Does anybody have any public comment?
Good evening, Jennifer Solis, 757 Redwood Lane. I just wanted to say thank you again for the staff. I know with I'm like the city manager, the public works. I know everybody's kind of pulling the reins with the water incident. And even though it's not necessarily affecting the residents anymore, I think we can lose sight of how much work everyone is doing behind the scenes. And so I just wanted to say thank you because I know they're also answering a ton of other questions and still kind of running the city like they, did before. And I just appreciate all the extra hours and all the extra time put in because I know how hard it is. And just because we're not seeing it on front page news anymore, I know doesn't mean it hasn't stopped in the city level. So just thank you for that. And thank you, because I'm assuming that means it's still closed session and you guys are still talking a lot about it. So I appreciate your continued guidance on that and communication on that. Also today I attended the police officers ice pops with the cops. And so that was very well attended and it was a very good event. And it was very interesting to talk to the different cops about their different different job duties and things, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, 20 officers means they all do the same thing, and they don't. And so it was very interesting to do that. So thank you for putting that on. So I appreciate it.
Any other public comment? We'll close public comment. Sarah? Sorry, did I do that right?
No, just check. to make sure.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Marissa, do you have any online? Ceremonial presentation, there's none. Department and city manager reports.
So I just have a quick update. Yeah, I attended the ice pops with cops or popsicles. It had a lot of names today. But I will say that we've got a young man somewhere in Lemoore that can throw a water balloon probably 65 miles an hour. And it almost took out one of our lieutenants today because he caught him right in the side of the head. So it was fun to watch our officers interact with the children. They were good sports, full uniform, vests on, guns. They were taking shots from about a 3-foot range from these little kids. So thank the police department put it on. Fire department was out there with their truck. They had hats, coloring books, and different things for the kids. I know my 2 girls went out for a little while, and they're 17 and 14, and my 14-year-old jumped in the slide and had a good time. So it's nice to see community coming together and doing things again, getting back to normalcy. That's it.
No other department or reports? Okay. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will all be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or member of the public requests individual consideration. Item 3-1, approval minutes, regular meeting, July 2021. 3-2, approval joint use agreement between the Lemoore Union High School District and the city of Lemoore.
3.2,
You want to pull that?
please.
Does anyone want to pull 3-1? Anybody in the public want to pull 3-1?
Motion to accept 3-1 as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Do I need to say who's motioned and seconded? Okay. Sorry, bear with me. Mr. Orth,
Yes.
Mr. Cheney,
Aye.
Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. It passes. And then 3-2,
Yes, thank you. One of the comments, and Nathan and I had a discussion about this this week also. I'd like to see, and not only maybe amended this agreement or future agreements. It's a pretty easy agreement. We agree on costs, but I think what really the meat of the issue is what time periods are available. In other words, what facilities do we have are available to the high school district, and vice versa. What times are available for the citizens for the pool
Scheduling.
in particular, yeah, in terms of scheduling. So, we basically kind of missed the whole summer where we could have had, summer swimming on Saturdays for citizens, things like that. I'd like to see us work on that so we can make those kinds of things happen. So other than that, I'm ready to approve it. So, thank you.
is there any public comment on 3-2? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Any further discussion?
So move. 3-2.
I have a motion by Mr. Gornick. Is there a
Second.
By Mr. Orth. Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Orth,
Aye.
Mr. Cheney.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. And then moving on to public hearing, section 4-1, public hearing confirming the diagram and assessment of annual levy for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. 22, sorry. For landscape and lighting maintenance district number 1 LLMD zones 1 through 13, resolution 2021-14, and public facilities maintenance district number 1 PFMD zones 1 through 10, resolution 2021-15. Ms. Champion.
Yes, good evening again, council. As previously stated, this is the second part to our LLMD PFMD assessments. You adopted the intent at the July 6th meeting. So the purpose of this is to hold a public hearing, and then we will ask you to adopt the resolution that accepts the engineer reports and allows us to file the assessments. To reiterate, the LLMDs, there was only a slight increase on Zone 8A and Zone 8B, and the PFMDs, Zones 1 through 3 decreased and 4 through 10 had an increase. The maximum that one of them increased was $130 annually, roughly $10 a month.
Is there any discussion? Council? Yep. I'll open it up to the public. I'll open the public hearing. Thank you.
Jennifer Solis again, 757 Redwood Lane. Thank you so much for continuing to do more study sessions this year. It's really been helpful to learn, even like today with the LLMD and PFMD, I definitely learned a lot. In between the sessions, I talked to Amanda a little bit about why the changes, why some went down, why some went up, and she kind of explained the new methodology, that it was a new methodology. And I didn't know if we could just get a little bit more information on that, because it was just interesting just for the public to kind of be aware. If we can take 2 minutes to do that, if possible, if there's time. Thanks.
Would you like me to go into that detail?
Sure.
Okay, so what she's referring to is the PFMDs. Previously, when the report was issued on July 6th, there was not as much fluctuation in the assessments. But recently, the city has acquired a new street saver program, which did an update on all of the status of all of our streets. And so with that, we wanted to take the extra time to reevaluate the reserves, the amount that we have in reserves for the PFMDs for that particular purpose. So the city created a revised 30-year maintenance plan. And when we did that, we pulled in consultants and engineers and used average pricing for certain treatments that we plan to do over 30 years. And that's why the reserve balances, the assessments have fluctuated due to the amount we need in the reserves for those zones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment? I'll bring it back. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Any further discussion? Seeing none. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to accept 4-1 as written.
I have a,
Second,
Orth, sorry.
Aye.
Mr. Gornick,
aye.
Mr. Cheney.
No.
I vote aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, section 5-1, report and recommendation. How do you say that? NISE, Farmers League request for letters of support. Ms. Avalos?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. So tonight we have Manuel Cunha Jr., who is the president of NISE Farmers League, and he requested to appear before council to discuss sample letters to seek support from council. So those were included in the packet, and upon approval, we'll get those sent to the Senate. So here he is.
Thank you. Good evening. Manuel Cunha, President of NISE Farmers League. And Luis Ramirez is one of a young man that works for us in our office. He is the brother of Jose Ramirez, the boxer. And so we were just in Avenel. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. And so we just came from Avenel from the night out. And we're over there. So I followed the speed limit. I guarantee you, I did not go over on the Avenel cutoff. I stood exactly. So again, thank you very much, Mayor, for allowing me to be before the council this evening. And the clerk and everybody, thank you. What we have before you is the Senate is debating and discussing the immigration bill before them. The House passed the immigration bill called the Farm Worker Modernization Act. and it passed 234 votes, 33 Republicans and the rest Democrats, which was really good. We did get it out. The only issue was in the discussion was that their definition of agriculture was not complete. So they said, well, you guys can make the change in the Senate side, whatever other changes you need to do. So he said, fine. So we did. So it got to the Senate. And on the Senate now, it sits there for discussion. And the definition is what we are after. So both Senator Feinstein and Senator Padilla have agreed that they are going to make this a very important point. So I had brought to their attention, would you like for me to go to the cities in the valley? And I have 48 cities to go to. I've done 19 already. And sometimes I have 2 city councils at the same time, but I mean, not the same time, but within an hour of distance. And the speed limit has been followed. I guarantee you, nothing more embarrassing than they get stopped. So in the letters that we're asking for you to send electronically, we've given to the clerk the actual who to send it to electronically. If you're able to approve, both letters would go to both senators. And in that letter would say, we would like agriculture to include packing houses, processing facilities, or like our cotton gins and all of them, because that's part of agriculture. There's no way to separate both, because farm workers will work in the fields and the wife may work in the packing house, or vice versa. They'll work in the fields and then they go work in the packing house. How to exclude that just did not make any sense. And the only time agriculture doesn't become agriculture as a product is when we change its identity. Apricots, pick, put in a box, go to the packing house. But when I take it to Smucker's and I crush it and do all those great things and put it into a fantastic jam, it is no longer agriculture in the sense of treating it as a farm or a farm product. Okay. So we've asked in the letter for them to include in the Senate version that would go to the president eventually, but it would include packing houses, processing facilities, cotton gins or walnut haulers or whatever. Those would be included because we no longer can separate these families. I've been in ICE audits. ICE audits is when an I-9 is picked up by the agency and they're taken to their headquarters and they run all the I-9s, which is the employment authorization. They come back to the employer and say, these numbers don't match in names. You need to dismiss these people. If you don't, you're going to be considered a felon and harboring an undocumented worker. So now we've separated families and we've just caused damage. So hoping once and for all, 30 years since the last immigration bill, or really it's 40 years since the 86 law went into effect under Reagan. And we took care of a lot of agricultural workers. And this is not an amnesty issue. These workers have to be working in agriculture, show W-2s, payroll checks. Somebody who just came across the border a month ago is not eligible for this. You have to show so many years, 2 years of at least working in agriculture and 150 days a year. So that is very important to us. And then those folks would get a temporary blue card. Now, saying that in the Senate side of 2019, Senator Feinstein had introduced her blue card immigration bill for agriculture. It is in there. And that's the piece that is going to be blended with the Farm Worker Modernization Act together so that we will then send that to the White House. Now, along with our letter is a thing called Dreamers in DACA in the 2012 under the Obama administration. Many of those workers work in our industries in all levels. And once and for all, we would ask for those people that have been here, background checks, everything has been done. Their Social Security, all of that stuff they pay into. They would also go forward, separate bills, Agriculture Modernization Act / Blue Card Feinstein, and the Dreamers. And the Dreamers would look at it in 2 ways. 2012 to 2018, they would be given a resident alien card. 2018 to 2019, 20, until the Supreme Court Justice just ruled of Texas that no new Dreamers can be granted cards or anything. And that's what's happened is you're on, you're off, and you can't do that to these people. That's just not a way to have your family not knowing what's going to happen. Tonight, if somebody's going to come to your door and say, we have to get on the bus and we have to take you to Kern County, and from Kern County, you go to the border. So there would be two separate bills, but we're asking to support both items in your letters. And our letters we sent to you were samples. So if you wish to change the letter, you certainly can do that. Like I said, I'll be going down to Shafter, Delano. We've done 18 cities already. And Fresno just passed last Thursday. The mayor signed on because they're a mayor-elect. And then the council chairman, Luis Chavez, he signed on as well. And we've had Corcoran sign on, and Exeter, and Farmersville, and Orange Cove, and I can name them all. But again, I want to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you at this time.
Open it to council for discussion.
Yes, Manuel, I want to thank you and Mr. Hernandez for coming. I intend to vote yes on this item, and I want to thank you for all the work that you've done on behalf of the Valley cities and the Valley communities and in our ag industry, including our growers and our workers. It's very commendable, and I think the action that you're taking, both personally and professionally, is to be commended, and I want to thank you for taking the time to bring this matter to our attention.
Well, thank you very much. And I thank the clerk and everybody for being so gracious to our office and even allowing us here in very short notice. But I thank you. Thank you very
much. And I think it's worth noting that, we're increasing our capacity in terms of processing for different crops. So it's important for us in terms of moving forward that we include this in there.
The Dreamers part of that, what exactly, I mean, you say there's two parts, that there's one for the farming industry and then is it a trailer? Is there a trailer connected to that?
No, what has happened is there's an immigration bill dealing strictly with Dreamers. The children that came here as you get that.
Yeah, I got
It's a
that.
separate bill because the ag piece came from the House. Agricultural Modernization Act has to go as that,
Yeah,
as well as the Senate version. So the president has said that he will sign both bills that go to him as the first phase of immigration. And that's what this is. So we won't combine ag with Dreamers, but we're supporting the Dreamers part because we have a lot of farm workers in Dreamers that work in facilities and all over. And to me, that's very important. And they've been background checked. Everything has gone through those folks. We do a lot of Dreamer applications in our office and we don't charge. We don't charge because just don't have, they're trying to make it. And for us, it's just to make sure that they don't get taken by a bad consultant or an attorney. Nothing against attorneys, but we have great ones. Then we have some that just don't know how to behave.
so basically there's two letters, if I understand this, there's two letters, or we're voting on one to do both letters, or are we gonna separate the letters out as in
Most
one or the other? My concern is the Supreme Court has ruled about the Dreamers.
The Texas Supreme Court did and said that the administration, that immigration cannot be an executive order. It can be
Exactly.
for a period of time, right? And then it has to go to a regulation because regulations under immigration have to be a regulation. The state cannot adopt anything on immigration. It has no authority, no matter whatever the governor wants to do. It's a federal law under the Department of Judiciary. So Judiciary says, okay. So the Supreme Court says, you have to get this done, okay? So that's why we're saying, okay, Dreamers have been at it since 2012. They've gone through backgrounds. They've been very positive. They've been a tremendous success in the communities. So the way we did it was just to let the senator know from each of the cities that they support, you, the city, will support the ag component with the definitional change. And when you read about DACAs, it just says that you support that DACAs also be moved forward. They have their own. Now you can separate the two letters, And that would be fine. So it would be 4 letters altogether, 2 to Feinstein and 2 to the senator. That's fine. Whatever the council wishes to do, it's not going to hurt them. We just did it together just to help the process.
So on the city side, this is designed or written the way it sounds like, that we approve it and we're going to have 2 letters.
So there's 2 letters before you right now. They're the same letter going to 2 different senators is what it is. And what
I
you would be
understand it's one
approving is
letter- It's one
Nathan.
letter to 2 different senators. So there's 2 letters. I understand 2
Right.
different addresses, but in the letter, we're supporting DACA and the farm,
Change of
Definition.
the change of the farm.
Yes,
definition.
it's under 1 letter currently. Now, if council wants it split or only wants to vote on one, or that's up to the council. These are draft letters.
Okay.
I
My-
can send you the the Word document, I guess. Is that the right word?
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, and then you manipulate.
My 2 cents is, I don't know if it's my turn to, my 2 cents on this is there are 2 different things. And I think personally, they are 2 important aspects. They are very important. But I think one, defining packing houses, cotton gins, walnut hauling, they're all, that's an ag industry. To lump a dreamer's argument into a farming, to me, that's apples and oranges on the statement. I think my suggestion would be support the farming side of it, and let's wait to see on the dreamers, because there is federal arguments at the Supreme Court about the legality of dreamers. That's my 2 cents.
Mr. Orth makes a very good point, and I agree. There are 2 separate issues that should be 2 separate letters, 2 separate letters that we vote, each one independently of the other.
Would you be okay? Nathan, how would, or
So I
Mary,
would,
how-
if that's the direction, then I think the direction would be to make a motion to, if somebody is so moved, to make a motion to approve for the changes to the definition of the agricultural labor and services as 1 letter. And then take a vote on that, and then come back to vote on the dreamers aspect of the letter and give us direction to split it into 2 letters should they both go through.
okay,
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
But we can vote on them as individual things if that's what council would direct us to do.
Was there any other discussion?
Well, I'd be more than willing to make the motion that we send 2 letters. Of one indicating the support of the definitional change of agriculture, and the second letter in support of any DACA changes that,
That's fine too.
or
Okay.
DACA legislation that they're deliberating on. Yeah.
Any other discussion from council? Open up to the public for public comment. Seeing none, back to council.
Need a second.
You have a motion. Mr. Gornick made a motion.
Oh, okay.
Second,
So just to be clear, you're voting to send both
2 letters,
2.
2 separate letters.
2 separate letters that are two senators.
So we're voting on them together or?
No,
one
That's
at a
separate.
time?
fine. Well, Mr. Gornick made a motion to vote on them together. So that's your pending motion, which is fine as long as we have a clear record for the minutes. So the motion is you're going to send 2 separate letters, one dealing with the definition, one dealing with the dreamers, to 2 different senators.
To the-
4 letters total.
Yes, to our California senators. Yeah. Right.
Do I have a second? You
I
seconded?
second.
Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Cheney,
Aye.
Mr. Orth,
no.
Hybrid.
No, but thank you. Man, I'm sorry. I vote aye.
Motion passes.
5-2, report and recommendation, appointment of voting delegate to League of California Cities Annual Conference. Ms. Avalos?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council again. So this item is for the appointment of a voting delegate to the League of California Cities Annual Conference. So the annual conference is being held in person this year in Sacramento it starts Wednesday, September 22nd, and it runs through Friday, September 24th. And as part of the conference, there's an annual business meeting. So this meeting is where membership takes action on legislative and policy issues. So the league requires that each city designate their voting delegate and an alternate for the annual business meeting prior to the conference. So we'll need to assign a primary and an alternate so we can get that information to the League of California Cities. And I believe right now we have 4 council members already registered for the conference.
Are all 4 members still planning on going? Just to make sure nothing's changed.
Yes.
I withdrew, so.
You withdrew?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so actually, right before the meeting,
Yeah.
Councilmember Gornick did let me know that, see if we can see about getting a refund for his registration. So right now, currently registered is Councilmember Orris, Councilmember Cheney, and Mayor Pro Tem Matthews.
Sad that you may not be going with us.
Huh?
Mr. Gornick.
You want me to vote on who's going to be the representative?
No, I'm,
No, no,
I'm
no.
sorry that you aren't planning on going with us. I was hoping that we would all be able to go, but does anybody want to make a recommendation for the appointment of a first and an alternate? Or do we do one at a time?
So just a little FYI, the city attorney just pointed out to me that the voting delegate does stay till the very, very end. It's like the last item of business on the last day. So just be prepared that if you are the voting delegate, you're going to have a long day.
Friday.
This is Friday the last day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Fridays.
Friday from,
Yeah.
the meeting is from noon to 2.
Oh, it's the last thing of the event.
Anybody? Don't all speak at once.
Well, I don't know if it's, I mean, I don't know if it's, do we ask who wants to do it or? How,
And
just
people
have
have
discussion.
volunteered in the past.
okay, well, I'll volunteer. But I mean, I'll volunteer to be the primary.
Does anybody want to volunteer to be the secondary? I guess that
Can we
means.
vote?
Then
I'll
I would
volunteer.
recommend Mrs. Matthews be the secondary.
There you go.
All right, we have to vote on that.
And just for fun, we can make the mayor the third one.
So I'll
Yeah, why
entertain
don't you- Yeah, do a
a
motion.
motion for Orth to be the primary and for myself to be the secondary or alternate, whatever the terminology was.
I second.
Did somebody first make the motion?
Oh, I thought you made a motion.
No, we need a motion.
Oh. Well, then I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Great.
Go.
So Mr. Cheney,
Aye.
Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Orth.
Aye.
If I vote no, it's still, no, I'm kidding. I vote aye as well. Why was that so difficult?
I don't know, you tell us.
Brief city council reports and requests, section 6-1, city council reports and requests. Mr. Orth?
I met last week with the CART, KART, or CART, Kings County Rural Area Transit. And their seasonal passes went off awesome. I guess it was the highest ridership they've ever had doing passes. They're actually looking, at one point, they said that they're up 339% from last year by doing it this way. So sounds like we're gonna be doing that again. They're looking into doing a fall and a winter one. We also authorized the initial design center for the downtown Hanford's CART facility downtown. It's it's across the street from the old Robert Chevrolet. It's where the DMV used to be. They're gonna do all that, and it's pretty nice facility, but we're in the very beginning stages of designing that. Caltrans told us that they're installing the K-rail down 41 from Kansas to, not Kansas, from Excelsior to, I want to say Elkhorn, that 8-mile stretch, that's the deadliest stretch or whatever right there. They're gonna put in a K-rail. They're starting. They're gonna do it at night from like 7 at night to 7 in the morning, so it should not be that big of a deal. They're also working, I guess we got a grant, or not we, but the state got millions of dollars from the governor's budget about cleaning up California. And I was gonna talk to Nathan about, there's some different things that Caltrans is gonna work with, giving citizens free dump days. And that's still in the works to being hashed out, but they're looking at giving dump days for all the city, everybody, basically in the state of California. There's a lot of money. There's like $300 million but it's not all of ours. It's for the whole state of California, but it's all for cleaning and dumping, cleaning up our cities. I did notice that the flashing stoplights at 19th and Cedar were up. They look good. Now, I guess we're just waiting for the solar powered streetlights, which will be a great addition to that area.
Yeah, Public Works is gonna go ahead and put a regular pole there because there already is existing power. So
Okay.
and we'll reassign the solar light post when it gets here. It's still several weeks out.
Cool, great. We went to the 100-year party at the firefighters. It was great turnout. They didn't let us shoot each other with the water hoses though, so that kind of was a bummer, but we did get to, 2 of us got to see how hard it is to use a firefighter hose and shoot it at a barrel to shoot it across. We only did half. The firefighters did actually the whole thing. We only did half. And I beat Mayor Pro Tem by 30 seconds. So,
Oh, sir, 15 seconds. 15. I will
okay.
correct that.
So it was a fun day. Everything was great. Thank you, the fire department, police department, everyone's doing great. Public Works, once again, I mean, I can't say how impressed I am with the water department on how fast we went from a disaster to where we're at. It speaks volumes of our whole team, Nathan, everybody, from Nathan all the way down to everybody. Just great job. That's it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Gornick?
I also attended the 100-year anniversary with my granddaughter, the fire department. We both had a good time. see both the police and the fire supporting one another. And I think we even had some volunteers from some of the other businesses there, like Leprino and things like that, helping out with barbecue and things of that nature. So that was nice to see. Good job. Just to continue the good work. I mean, we're, as Councilmember Orth said, the bounce back from the catastrophe we had with the water issue, that was tough. And I think we're moving in a good direction. The golf course is, walk out there kind of regularly and take a look at what's going on there. It's nice to see the white sand and the greens coming back. And so all good news. Thank you.
Mr. Cheney?
I just want to thank Ms. Champion for a great presentation, and my voting has nothing to do with the work that she spent on this. So it was a great presentation, and again, that had no impact on my decisions. I also want to thank the police department. As always, I sleep well at night, knowing they are out there. Kudos to the police department who go out there every day and protect me, protect the city, protect the citizens, and I miss you guys. So anyway, that's all.
Mayor Pro Tem, can I add one thing? I'm sorry.
Unless you're going to change your time.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
The golf course. It was a very hard decision that we made. We made it. I just ask everybody to give the operators the opportunity to shine. It looks great, like Gornick, Councilman Gornick said. I'm just asking, let's just see how this works. Let's play it. Let's understand it. And it is our course. And we just want everybody to enjoy it as well as like it. Just give it a shot, please. Sorry.
Anybody else? Okay. I also attended Pops for Cops today with my granddaughter. It was a great event. I do appreciate the water features to help cool us off during the day as well as the popsicles. Lots of great stuff from the police department, the fire department. My granddaughter walked away very happy, even though she didn't get to slide down the slide because she's going to get in my car and we were going to go for a long drive. So she didn't get to participate in that, but it was very well attended and nicely done. I also attended the 100-year anniversary for the volunteer fire department, and I'm sad I missed Gornick there. I'm sad that he didn't get to participate in the fun of seeing what our firefighters do. That was
Well,
pretty,
I saw the competition with the
but you
kids.
didn't get to partake.
This is true. I stayed wait.
So much different. I actually thought that Mr. Scaldi was pulling the hose behind me,
Yeah.
but no, the struggle was real, and I could only imagine in full gear. So my hat's off to our fire department to be able to handle that. Now, granted, there's more than two of them probably on a hose, but
And
it was
full
pretty-
power.
Pretty brutal.
We were
Yeah, we
at
had
full
reduced
power.
power too, so we didn't need to say that though, Mr. Orr. Thanks. If anybody's interested also in the fancy shirts that they're doing for a fundraiser for them, they do still have some available, and I would direct you to the fire department if you're interested in purchasing one of those. Also to piggyback on Mr. Orth, sorry, the K-rails are, I want to say they're almost halfway down 41 now. I just drove that way today. So it is really nice. You would think that it's kind of like usually you're in the LA area and there's K-rails, it's kind of sketchy driving down, but there's plenty of room. So they did it well. I think that's actually all I have. So with that, we will adjourn.